when we were at Consumers, Scott was working in what was then out of his house as part of our Massachusetts operation, and Tom Steffens was his supervisor, direct supervisor. Scott and I didn't have a lot of one-on-one exposure at that point. I'm not sure we actually worked in the field. I'm trying to think of, was there a pipeline project, Scott, maybe for Providence Water that was early on that maybe I got involved with, or Boston Water and Sewer?
I don't know. I know I did stuff with Tom and Boston Water and Sewer. I don't recall. I'm not sure. We might have not worked too much.
Yeah. I remember meeting with Randy Fouch of Weston and Sampson, and we ended up diving to look at some pier structures in the Navy Yard up there.
Yeah.
But I don't recall whether you were in the field with it at the time I did that or not. So.
Yeah, we had different segments of business groups in Consumers, and so we were siloed that way. So I was in the corrosion engineering. There were there was mechanical services, other things. So there wasn't as much crossover as there is in this company today. Everybody in CorrTalk is focused on corrosion engineering. So we want people to be diverse and see all the different applications. I would say almost everybody's worked with each other here at CorrTalk at some point in time, and that's probably a good thing. But I don't think we did that at Consumers that much. We did the administrative stuff together. I know we did outings and trainings and
budgets. Budgeting part, yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, the unregulated business that we were with, Consumers Applied Technologies, was owned by a regulated water utility holding company, and our erratic finances, like we have now. Sometimes we don't make money in a month, sometimes we do. And in the water business, you sell water every month, so you generally are making money month over month. So it seemed to be a difficult fit. And we had a number of struggles in some of the business segments that we were working with in the company. And so eventually the board of directors of Consumers decided they wanted out of the game. So I essentially was fired. My office was closed here in Hopkinton, Mass. A few other offices were closed, and the group, the corrosion engineering group, was disbanded. So I thought about it and met with a few people and yik-yacked about a few different things, and it became logical for me to put forth an offer to buy the corrosion engineering services group from Consumers. So I essentially took the work, the contracts, the office obligations, the materials, the computers, the desks, the phones, and took it off their plate so they wouldn't have to deal with it for a fee. So I paid them a fee for that and took over almost every, I think one contract did not come over to CorrTalk, all the other ones did. So we started out finishing those contracts and started up in business in 1997.
Yeah, there was Scott and I, this is where Scott and I, our paths were together and then diverged a little bit, but continued to be intertwined, is that I obviously was with Consumers at the same time this was happening. They got purchased in the world of conglomerates. Consumers Water was owned heavily by a big French conglomerate called CGE, and CGE also owned a huge portion of a water company called Philadelphia Suburban, and they decided they were going to merge those two companies. And when they looked at this technical services group called Consumers Applied Technologies, and they looked at the way its finances went up and down, and quite frankly, what made that so unpredictable was the meter business in New York City. Was this huge meter installation business that Consumers had, which dwarfed the rest of our services. And I would say the one thing that could have if we look back, at least I do, if I look back right now in 1996, 95, 96, one thing that missed opportunity was if Scott and I had bought the services sector from consumers, not the meters, but everything else that we already did, we'd have been 30 years ahead of where we then had to recreate our businesses. So Scott said he recreated his business by just buying everything and going into business. And I started X-Tech, which was essentially the water tank inspection and coatings business, almost the same year.
Right.
I hung on a little farther. So then for years, I ran X-Tech and Scott ran CorrTalk. We collaborated on a number of projects. In fact, that's probably when we first started working in the field together.
Right.
Was as CorrTalk and X-Tech, and it worked out well. We were then, because we had worn all the hats, because we had understood the full breadth of our businesses, we're able to run our own businesses. Certainly opportunities missed, like I said, to either buy the entity directly from consumers and take it as one piece while it was still good, or even combine our businesses early on. But life gets complicated with when you're scrambling around trying to find owners and help you finance a new venture. And it's not just as easy to unwind and combine and do things like that. But I think we were pretty successful at finding ways to work together for the 13 years that X-Tech and CorrTalk kind of existed in parallel.
Yeah. And actually, Ted probably held on longer. I think I was terminated in February, and you probably were there almost another year.
Yeah, they had me trying to get them out of some contracts, and of course they offer severance plan, and I think I was buying the ROV equipment from them for pennies on the dollar if I stayed. So I was motivated to hang out there for a while. So
the price of purchase kept going down because it had less of things were just sort of falling apart.
Yeah, and that was where we both got exposed to Jim Laredo, which is probably another missed opportunity. A pretty savvy businessman, young and aggressive, that we both could have learned a lot from if we'd had an opportunity to work with him a few more years. But he ended up being the wind down CEO of Consumers Applied Technologies.
Yeah, go in and figure out what's wrong, and if it is, we're going to unwind it, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
But that was a learning experience. What went on there? I think I was there for about 10 years, so there was lessons learned how to run a business, and so I brought those here to CorrTalk and have been doing so. So what you learn at one phase of life, the door closes, another one opens, and here we are. I don't know that it's a financial response, it's a stability response. So the one thing I like to say is that people that work here they all belong here on the bus. They all contribute. They like working at CorrTalk, and that's important. So as long as there's good revenue and there's good predictable profit year over year, I think that's a good achievement. If CorrTalk grows, doubles in size in 10 years, that's a good thing too. I think some of the opportunities we have in front of us, that will be something that can get facilitated. So I'd like to see the company continue and maintain its reputation for sure. Don't want to stray from that. So, people buy from people they don't trust. And we want to be that company that provides that high quality service.
And I would kind of reiterate that. I think what makes it fun to work here and what's attracted young employees to come here is that CorrTalk has developed and continues to develop a reputation as a problem solving, high response type of firm. And if I could look back after I retire at some point and see an organization that's known throughout the industries it works in as an expert, as a solutions type of company with quality people operating as safe and ethically, I think that always spells stability. As long as somebody doesn't make a crazy decision to spend money in a weird way, or take on projects we can't do. But the company should be stable for a long while. And I've made the point as we've attracted new people in this office and other offices is that one of the big benefits that I know Scott has had and I've had is that this is a niche business and it is a relationship business. And nobody's ever going to put you out of business and take your job away if you do the right things. The corrosion is not going to go away. The industries we serve are not going to go away. Steel is not going to be replaced by plastic, regardless of what they say. That you have a career forever if you do it right, and I think that's what CorrTalk has done. That's what we've really gone in the last 5 years. Made big strides in that regard. So yeah, I could sleep easy if I walked away from the business. At least, I'm not sure we'll ever walk away completely, but if I walked away from this business and looked back and saw that name CorrTalk and saw the trucks pass me on the highway and read the industry journals and saw people talk about CorrTalk services, that would be very satisfying.
Yeah, the other side of it is so the guys that work here, we like to be in the field, so we're hands on. You know, we're the kind of guys that can go onto a job site, go to your location and figure things out for you. So we're not that skill set's not replaceable by overseas labor. The design work can be replaced in overseas labor or attempted to. But the fact that we're out and about solving problems, hands-on and touching things, makes us pretty unique.